All right. Hello and welcome to today's video. Ooh, explosion. Okay. Hopefully that was that. Okay. Hello and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about purity culture. We're going to be talking about why purity culture is essentially in everything. It's not just in religion, it's not just in our sexuality, and why understanding and witnessing purity culture for what it is, for how it teaches us to be, for how it teaches us to view things, for how it teaches us to separate ourselves from our humanity. Seeing it for what it is, seeing it where it is, seeing it how it's so deeply a part of our culture and how it's so indoctrinated into us that we don't even see it. And understanding what it's doing to us so that we can separate ourselves from it and we can witness it for what it is. Like I say, we can recognize it when it's happening to us, and we can start to remove ourselves from the systems of purity culture that are our current culture is so important on the self-love path and on the path of trying to discover what kind of life is going to work for us, what's going to feel good for us, what doesn't feel good for us, and on this path of just trying to find a happy, healthy life. Okay? And also, hello. If you're watching this on Facebook, or sorry, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is my first video back since my surgery and since talking about my surgery and all of that stuff. So the videos you've been watching for the last 12 weeks were all leading up to the surgery. So this is my first video back since then if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're watching this on Instagram, if you're watching this on Facebook, it's my first video back. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to be back doing this with you and doing these lives and doing these videos because, yeah, I just feel like it's really important that we come together and that we connect and that we talk about these really big kind of overarching issues together. And I'm really excited to just be here and do this with you guys. And yeah, I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching these videos. I appreciate you interacting with this content. So yeah, thanks for riding this all out with me. Thanks for being here with me. And I'm excited to keep moving forward with all of this. So that's all I just wanted to say. This is my first video back since surgery and all that stuff. So I'm really happy to be here. Anyways, okay. So what we're talking about today with purity culture and why it's so important that we recognize how incredibly pervasive purity culture is, because a lot of us tend to view purity culture as being something that's just in religion, right? So there are a lot of us out there who are deconstructing from being in religious groups. And as we are doing that deconstruction work, we're realizing how much of our lives we have been told that who and what we are is sinful and wrong and bad, and that we need to change it and we need to fix it and that we need saving from it, right? Like this kind of message in traditional spirituality is this message that there is something wrong with you fundamentally, that there is something inherent in your being that is not pure, that is not in alignment with God or with holiness or with goodness, and that we need saving from it, we need fixing from it, we need rescuing from it. And that's why we engage, or that's at least part of the reason why we engage in our religious actions, is because we are trying to purify ourselves. We are trying to earn that purification from the Savior. We are trying to live up to the purity culture and the purity expectations of the religion that we're in. And when we are in the process of deconstructing, it can be really, really confusing in terms of figuring out what is truly good for us and what ways of being and what ways of doing things that we were taught in our religions perhaps that might actually be good for us and might actually be helpful and might actually be things that serve to make our lives better, and what are the things that are just, we were told that we were evil when really we aren't, right? And I, again, really view purity culture as being something that is just actually part of our regular, everyday culture that all of us are being exposed to, whether we're involved in a religion, whether we're involved in spirituality or not. Okay? So, for the purpose of this video, for the purpose of this conversation, I want us to understand that my definition of purity culture is anything that tells us that our natural humanity, our natural way of being, that what is genuine to us as human beings is wrong, bad, sinful, not okay, and something we need to fight against, something we need to hate in ourselves, something that we need to fix, something that is broken, something that is wrong, that needs to be changed. Okay? Purity culture is anything that tells us that what is natural to us, that what is natural to our way of being as a human being, is wrong, bad, evil, dirty, sinful, needs to be fixed, changed, or modified in some way. And if we look at it through that lens, right? Anything that's telling us that what is natural to us is something that needs to be fixed, we can start to look at our culture and the messages we are sent in pretty much every section of society. And we can start to see that purity culture is in everything, right? We look at the diet industry. Just one little example. The industry of how we are meant to control and restrict and change and modify our bodies. The whole message is, you can't trust your appetite, you can't trust your natural size, you cannot trust your own intuition, you can't trust your body. Your body is broken, your body is messed up, your body is not naturally right in some way. And you need an exercise program, you need a diet program, you need a wellness program, you need a whatever you need to change, fix, modify, shape your body into something that would be more pure, better, more in alignment with the cultural standards of what everyone thinks is acceptable for a body. We live in a world where there is a very narrow view of what a good body is, what a right body is, what an acceptable body is. And if you don't fit into those parameters, you are taught immediately that there's something wrong about you, there's something shameful about you, there's something inherently not right about the way that you are. And then we are sold 100 million different ways to fix, modify, and change that thing so that you can try to make your body closer to the standard that culture says this is what a body is supposed to look like. Think about that for a second. Even if you have one of the bodies that fit into the cultural narrative of what a good body is, think about all the things you have to do on a daily basis to try to maintain that body. And think about what is going to happen when your body no longer fits those parameters. Like, there's a very real thing of even just clothes not being made for all different types of body types. if you don't fit into the cultural standard of what a body is supposed to look like, you might not be able to buy clothes in a store like a normal person. And it's not because those bodies don't exist. It's not because those bodies are inherently anything different than anyone else's body. It's just because they don't fit into the cultural narrative of purity culture. And therefore, it is okay in our culture to not cater to those bodies. And that's just one little example. And again, it's normal and it's accepted in our culture. It's expected in our culture that if your body doesn't fit into the narrative of what a good body is supposed to look like, that you are supposed to be doing something about that. It is normal, it is expected that you are actively working to change your body and how it looks in order that you will fit in. And if you are not, right? If you don't have a body that fits into cultural standard and you are not doing something about it, people will be very confused and have no idea what to do with you, because that will make no sense. That is purity culture. If you are not trying to change your appetite, change the way that you eat, change the way that you live, change the way that you move, control your mind, do all of these things, buy programs, be a part of things that will shift and change the way that your body looks, so that you are actively working towards fitting yourself in to the purity culture of our body standards, you are judged as a freak. There's something wrong with you. It is weird that you are not putting in effort to fit into the purity culture. It's just so assumed and so indoctrinated into us that it is normal and expected that you live up to the purity culture of the body standard, that we can go on social media and scroll and scroll and scroll all day and watch what I eat in a day, what I did to work out today, the weight loss medication I took, the stuff I did to my face today, blah, blah, blah. And that's just normal. We accept that. That is purity culture. The fact that we spend so much time and so much money and so much energy all day, every day, trying to make our bodies look a certain way. Because even when people say it's about their health, and even when people say it's about taking care of themselves, there are people out there who are extremely healthy, who are taking care of themselves, whose bodies do not fit into the standard. And they are not accepted as healthy and well and good. There are people out there whose bodies are not healthy. What they are doing is beyond not healthy for them. But it makes their body look how it's supposed to look, and we all celebrate that. And that is normal. That is expected. Just think about that. We are literally trained to be in a battle with our bodies at all times. And that is normal, that is accepted, that is just what pretty much everybody is doing. That is an example of purity culture. You can't trust your own appetite. You can't trust your own body. You can't just let your body look how it's going to look. Right? You can't do what you want to do with your body. You have to fit your body into cultural standard, and if you don't, there's something wrong with you that needs to be fixed and changed. It's not about feeling good. It's not about how you feel. It's about how you look and how you fit in. Now let's talk about our relationships. Again, it is normal and accepted and acceptable in our culture that we still debate just like when we take a step back from this and just even consider it from a humane stance, I hope it sounds absolutely so beyond silly when we just say it how it is. That we debate about whether or not a relationship is legitimate when two people or three people or several people love each other in a way that isn't cis het female and cis het male. That is a single combination that we have decided is the combination. That's the one normal, acceptable, socially pure combination. And you're supposed to then get married, have a stable, secure marriage, and you're supposed to have 2.5 babies, and you're supposed to have the picket white fence. And that is the purity narrative of what a good relationship, a successful relationship is. A legitimate relationship. So if you fall anywhere outside of that, which is like billions of people love naturally in a way that doesn't fit into that binary. And we debate whether those people have the right to have safety in their relationships in society, to be given the same rights and freedoms as the cis het female, cis het male who got married and had 2.5 kids. We debate whether that's a legitimate way of being. People have shame and guilt. People are sent to camps to try to change who and what they are attracted to. This is something we literally argue about. Are these humans legitimate humans in their expression of love? Because it doesn't fit this very narrow view of what we have decided is a relationship. That is insane. And yet, it's normal. It's accepted. We have these debates and we have these discussions. And no one is standing up there and saying, why are we even having this discussion? This is not a discussion to have. These people love each other, period. That's enough. That's a legitimate relationship. They should be allowed, especially if it's two consenting adults or three consenting, everyone's a consenting adult and everyone's agreeing on the dynamic. Who is anyone to judge whether that's legitimate or okay or not? And it has no bearing on anyone else's relationship. You can be a straight cis white female with a straight cis white male and have your 2.5 kids. And there could be a polyamorous couple that lives right next to you, and it has no bearing on you. And yet we argue about it. That's ridiculous. And yet, it is a normal part of our culture that we have these debates and that people don't have rights and people don't have all the same freedoms, and they can be literally, legitimately, physically unsafe for being attracted to who they're attracted to on this planet. That is purity culture. So a beautiful young woman in my home country just passed away the other day from a liposuction on her knees going wrong. That's normal. Right? It's like, if we don't take a step back and critically look at this, we might look at something like that and be like, oh, that's sad. Or what did the doctor do wrong? Or what did she do wrong? Instead of being like, whoa, think about that. This person literally lost their life undergoing a surgery to try to change how their body looked because of purity culture. And that was normal. If she had lived, no one would have said anything. No one would have judged that. That surgery exists. Like, just think about that. That surgery exists. Knee liposuction exists. That's a thing you can go and do. That is purity culture. If you are not able to work a 9 to 5, if you are not able to go to university, get a degree, work for a big corporation, make your 100K salary, work every day, do the normal thing, you are seen as less than, broken, something bad, wrong, shameful about you. If you are in any way someone who doesn't fit into the corporate structure of our culture, you are automatically branded as someone who is broken, who needs help, who needs support. There is one way to be a good worker. There is one way to be a success in our culture. And it's that you work a normal 9 to 5 corporate job, or you're some sort of like incredibly successful entrepreneur or whatever. But you have to be rich and you have to be working a lot. You have to be sacrificing your time and your energy and hustling and grinding. And if you can't do that, or if you don't want to do that, there's something broken about you. That is purity culture. That is purity culture saying there's one way to work, there's one way to be successful. And if you don't fit into that, if you don't fit into that very narrow thing, you either need to be wildly successful at something else. Wildly successful. Right? You can't just be mediocre at it. You can't just be okay. You can't just be getting by. You need to be wildly successful at something else. Or you are seen as illegitimate, not good enough. That is purity culture. We have so many different types of therapy, self-help and personal growth courses and journals and material, spirituality material, teachings, manifestation stuff, how to improve your productivity, how to improve how much you can work. Get up at 4 a.m. Do your side hustle while you work your corporate job. How can you sleep less, rest less, do less fun activities so that you can work harder and work more? Maybe there's some talk about working smarter every once in a while and doing less. But even that, we don't really celebrate that. We don't really want people to be doing less. We're saying if you're going to be doing less, it's because you're spending more time on your side hustle. That is purity culture. That is purity culture saying there's one way to be, there's one way to work, there's one way to be successful, and if you don't fit into that, there's something wrong with you. So just like plastic surgery to change the aesthetic of your genitalia, but they haven't figured out a cure for PCOS yet. Again, that is a perfect example of purity culture. We have so many different ways that you can modify how your body looks. And in medicine, there are so many conditions that are just not being researched, that don't have the funding, that no one cares about. And people are struggling and suffering and in pain because of these things. And no one's looking into it because no one cares. It doesn't fit into the purity culture narrative. We're not here to make people suffer less or to actually improve the quality of our lives. The purpose of what we're doing is to make you look how you're supposed to look, to make you fit in to what you're supposed to fit into. That's the priority. That's what we care about. Right? We are all being conditioned and being programmed to live our lives in a way that make us look how we're supposed to look, that make us appear how we are supposed to appear, as good, right, pure beings. And that is how we know we are living in purity culture, because it has nothing to do with how it feels. It has nothing to do with actual outcome. And it has everything to do with how it looks on the surface, how you are behaving. Okay? In the field of mental health, this is a huge thing. Purity culture is massive in our mental health world. So much of the treatment of neurodivergence is about trying to make people who are neurodivergent more normal. It's not about figuring out ways to support people who are neurodivergent in being neurodivergent, having your neurodivergence, and what do we need to give you so that you can have a good quality of life. Right? It's not about supporting the way that you actually are and figuring out different ways of being that maybe make your life look different than how everyone else lives their life, that work for you based on how your brain works. It's not about that. It's about how do we fix you and how do we change you so that you can fit better into the culture that is designed around being neurotypical. Which, again, on some levels, that is helpful, right? There are some things about being neurodivergent that really do impede upon our capacity to get things done and our capacity to function. And there are things that we can do to help us function more normally and get our needs met in a more normal way. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, but there is still a part of this where it's not that there's something wrong. It's not that this isn't something we can deal with. It's you can still be neurodivergent and have your neurodivergence and just adjust your life in ways that allow you to still get your needs met in the way that you get them met, in the way that works for you, in the way that works for how your brain works. It's not about making you more normal. It's about understanding how your brain functions and setting up a life that works with that. Maybe you work later hours. Maybe you are the kind of person who tends to do all of your work all at once and then you need a big break instead of working your 9 to 5. You see what I'm saying? There are ways of adjusting life to match how your brain works where you don't have to change your brain. It's not about making yourself more normal. It's not about trying to force yourself into a box. It's about saying, okay, this is how I work, so I'm going to set up my life to work for that. That's purity culture. Also, purity culture tells us if you're anxious, if you're depressed, if there's something about you that is reacting and responding to our normal culture in a way that is negative, you can't get yourself to do it. You are broken. There's something wrong with your emotions. There's something wrong with your brain. And we need to fix you so that you can be normal, so that you can work how everyone else works, you can live how everyone else lives, you can value what everyone else values, you can pursue what everyone else pursues, you can do what everyone else is doing, and be normal like everyone else. Instead of asking the question, do you maybe just have different values than our culture? Is pursuing what is normal making you feel like shit? Because that's not what matters to you? And what's normal isn't helpful, isn't right, isn't actually good? When we are constantly trained to see our inability to pursue a normal life with happiness, joy, and fulfillment as being something that is wrong and bad and shameful and broken about us, instead of being like, why does it hurt? What might you need that is different than what culture is telling you to pursue? What might you not need that culture is telling you you have to be a part of? What might be causing you to feel like this is all shit? And it's not something wrong, bad, and broken about you. It's you responding to a broken system. The fact that we try to fix you instead of asking you what's really going on is purity culture. I don't consider that mental health. I consider that purity culture. The fact that we are all afraid of our emotions, that we don't know how to handle shame, guilt, grief, loneliness, existential dread. We don't know how to process anger. We don't know how to process making mistakes and having to learn from them without feeling like we're horrible, monstrous failures. The fact that whenever we disappoint somebody, we feel like the whole world is crashing down around us. The fact that when we feel like we don't live up to cultural standards, we feel like we are broken and there's something wrong with us, and we don't know how to feel what we're actually feeling, right? When we are hurt by culture, when we are abused by how things normally are, and all of us turn it into shame, blame, and guilt about ourselves instead of being able to feel anger or resentment or sadness, or being able to be like, no, the thing I'm actually feeling is this was shitty, and this was not okay, and this felt bad because it was harmful. But we're all trained to shame, blame, and guilt ourselves. That is purity culture. That is 100% purity culture. What you are feeling is a sign that there's something wrong with you. Never a sign that there's something wrong with how you're being treated, with what's normal, with culture. That is purity culture. Again, the fact that we are disconnected from each other. The fact that we are trained over and over and over and over and over again to see ultra independence as virtue. The more you can do for yourself, Fight for yourself. Defend for yourself. Focus on yourself. Navel gaze. Looking at the wellness culture. Are you micromanaging your diet perfectly? Are you doing cold plunges? Are you exercising the right amount a day? Are you doing your spiritual work? Are you meditating? Are you... So that you can be completely focused on yourself while also having literally no actual self-awareness. Because it's not about, again, actually getting to know yourself. It's not about actually getting to know what you want and what you need and what works for you. It's not about establishing a true spiritual connection. It's not about processing your actual emotions and being mad about things that are shitty and learning where you don't want to participate in stuff. It's not about that. It's not really about that. It's about how much can you do to make yourself look like you fit in to this culture of wellness and ultra productivity and ultra independence that our culture expects of us. That is purity culture. It goes against all of our natural impulses to be navel gazing like that, to be hyper individualistic like that, to not be connected to a community. Social media, these parasocial relationships where people are showing us their day-to-day life and we have like this really intimate view into what they're doing, but at the same time, it's all curated. It's all pretend. We don't have a two-way relationship with these people. We feel like we know everything about them. They know nothing about us. They pretend to care about us. They're talking to us about their day, but we're not interacting with them. That is messed up. And like that being like our main source of interaction. Because we're trained, again, in purity culture, that to be genuinely vulnerable with somebody, to actually show who you are to somebody, is dangerous. It's weird. None of us know how to do that. We don't know how to have intimate relationships. We know how to trauma dump on each other. We know how to try to be each other's therapists. We know how to pretend like everything's fine. But we don't know how to just have like a normal, this is what I'm going through, this is what you're going through, I'm taking responsibility for myself, you're kind of taking responsibility for yourself. But like these adult dynamics, that is so rare. Because we're not trained in like actual emotional mastery. We're not trained in knowing and being there for ourselves. We're not trained in setting up a life that actually works for us. So we can be in genuine relationship with other people and know how to be generally emotionally regulated, know how to hold space for someone else's emotions, not feel like we need to be codependent, not feel like we need to be totally shut down. Right? Like all of us are struggling to just find like normal friendships and normal relationships because purity culture has separated us from our humanity so much. We don't know how to be just humans with each other. It's all transactional and interactional or confusing. That is a result of purity culture. So you see, I've just spent the last 40 minutes looking at different sections of society and how all of them are operating under the assumption that what you are naturally as a human being is wrong. And you need to fix it and change it and alter it in some way. And then we can look at the results of that. We need to look at the results of this. That most of us are now, because of that, living lives where we feel totally confused and lost and disconnected, and we don't know what life is about. We feel anxious, we feel depressed, we feel confused because we are separated from what is natural and normal to us. We're separated from our bodies. We're separated from our emotions. We're separated from how our minds work. We're separated from healthy work-life balance. We're separated from real, true community, authenticity, and relating. All of these things that are just inherent to our being, that fulfill us. We're separated from places in nature to just be and hang out and not do stuff. We're separated from safe environments to rest. We're separated from the idea of ever finding enough in anything. We are constantly being told that we need to do more, be more, pursue more, consume more, produce more. And that's the answer to all of your problems. Okay, the pressure of modern society to produce things based on worth and merit and turn away from magic. Absolutely. We are separated from our humanity, so we feel like shit. That's how that is going to be. Purity culture separates us, right? Our bodies, our emotions, our relationships, our work, all of these things. Makes it about how it looks versus how it feels. Makes it about how it looks versus actual outcome. We all feel like shit. And then culture comes in and says, don't worry, we have the solution. And we're going to sell it to you in the form of wellness, in the form of spirituality, in the form of self-help and personal growth. We're going to sell it to you in religion. We're going to sell it to you in diets. We're going to sell it to you in this is what it is to be productive. We're going to sell it to you in shit you don't need, right? Hyper-consumption. Clothes you don't need. Food you don't need. Entertainment you don't need. We're going to sell it to you in courses and workshops and books. And so we're separated from ourselves. We're trying to fix ourselves. And then we're trying to fix ourselves even more. And none of it is about, okay, what do you actually need? What do you actually feel? Like, what do you actually feel? What are the actual outcomes of these things we're doing? Are they leading us to where we want to go? Or are they causing damage? Because think about this. Think about how much damage all of this is causing. Think about the environmental impact of our hyperconsumption and hyperproduction. Just that alone. The literal continent of plastic in the middle of our ocean. Because we are over-consuming shit we absolutely do not need to try and fill a void that is caused by our culture of separating us from our humanity. Is this rat wheel of the system convincing us we need certain things and look certain ways that are impossible to achieve just so we forever keep working for the chase? Exactly. Look at the impact. We have goods that are being produced by literal children in sweatshops. And many of us turn a blind eye to it because we are so desperate to fit in that we will buy the shitty clothes, we will get our nails done, we'll do our hair, we'll do all this stuff. And it's causing so much damage and so much chaos on the planet for us to look how we're supposed to look. And it feels like shit. Because it should. Because the actual outcome is terrible. We're working in ways that are destroying all of us. We're lining the pockets of billionaires, and we see that as a virtue. You're working harder, you're slaving away, you have a side hustle, you're doing all this, and we see that as a good thing. It is not a good thing. And then, OMG, the endless cookie cutter courses. Absolutely. How many find your passion so that you can find your side hustle, so that you can turn your side hustle into your career, so that you never have to work a day in your life, but actually you're going to work all the time to sell yourself to the system more and more and more by making yourself the product. And that's supposed to be the dream life. What? That's insane. But we're taught that that's what success is. Your average, sorry for pronouncing that wrong, indigenous person owned around 6 objects in their entire existence. Right? And it's again, it's not about how it looks. It's what are the function of the objects we all own? Right? Like, so many of us have these houses just filled with shit that we don't use and we don't need. That were just produced for no reason, and we bought it for no reason, and we went to work to afford it. Why? It has no function. It has no purpose. It's just there. And that's what's accepted because of how it looks. And again, right, we have people on the internet saying that they're relationship experts who can't hold a relationship to save their life. And we buy their courses over and over and over again because every time they sell us that it looks like they're in a relationship with their divine second person, we buy it because we're told that that's what will make us happy. And if someone can make it look like they have that, we will give them our money. That is purity culture. It's not about what it's actually about. It's not about getting to know yourself. It's not about connecting to your humanity. It's not about connecting to the humanity of other people. It's not about figuring out what's enough and stopping at that. Right? Like, so many people, when I say find your enough, freak out because they think I'm telling them they have to be poor people on the street who don't have anything. Like, there's just no concept in our current culture of enough. Like, enough being you have what you need. You have enough. It's good enough. And so you don't need more. It's not that you're in a state of lack. You're okay. And then you just stop. You just don't anymore. You don't keep pursuing more. People have no concept of that. When I say find your enough, they automatically think you're telling me to be a poor beggar on the street. You're telling me to give up everything good I've ever had. I'm going to lose my whole everything. That's our culture. That's our purity culture. That's rotted our brain. That the idea of enough scares the shit out of people. The idea of just embracing your emotions and just feeling them and letting them be what they are. Letting yourself just be sad when something is sad and not having to do anything about it. Letting yourself be angry when something is angering. Like literally, I can't tell you how many one-on-one clients I've worked with who I have to give them permission to just feel their anger. And it is so scary. They are so afraid to feel their anger, to let their anger out, to be angry, because they think the world is going to implode. And all that happens is they're angry for a little bit. They realize why things hurt and what was messed up, and then they can start to take positive action. But they're so indoctrinated that anger is bad, anger is wrong, you're not allowed to feel anger, that they need someone like me to give them permission to feel it. They need to go through the mystery school to make it okay, to learn how to embody anger and see that it can be safe, to learn how to embody sadness and see that it can be safe, and that we don't need a fix for our existential dread, that we're just going to feel it sometimes. We're going to go through it sometimes. And we can get through it, and we can be okay. Right? People go through my mystery school and they're like, oh, like, right? Like, this isn't self-help. This isn't fixing me. This is just learning how I am and then designing a life around that. Right? Like I tell people, like, by the time I got diagnosed with autism, I had already designed a life that fully worked for someone with autism. And I didn't know I was autistic. I just studied how I work, and instead of trying to fix myself and make myself different, I arranged my life in the ways that I could that aligned with how my brain works and how my emotional regulation works and how my emotional processing works. And so by the time I learned I was autistic, I was like, oh, okay, good. Yeah, I'm autistic. That makes sense. Obviously. But I didn't have to like change my life that much because I already had. That's the path of self-love. That's the actual path of awakening. That's what this work is actually about. Reconnecting to our humanity. This is who and what I am as a unique individual. This is what works for me. This is what doesn't. And it's not about fitting in to how it looks. It's about figuring out how things feel and how the actual outcome of what we're doing, what the actual outcomes of what we're doing are and is, and working off of that. That's real reality. That's why the 2 courses in my mystery school are called The Process of Awakening to Reality and The Process of Living in Reality. It's not that mysterious. When people are always like, well, what is reality? How it feels, an actual outcome, is reality. The 2 things we are never trained to look at in our culture. What we are trained to look at in our culture is how it looks and what should happen. This is what should happen when you go on this diet. This is what should happen when you follow this relationship advice. This is what should happen when you work like this. And when the should doesn't happen, we don't go, oh, that's wrong then. The process is wrong. The thing I'm being told to do isn't wrong because it isn't right, because it doesn't lead to the expected outcome. We go, oh, I'm broken. I must be doing it wrong. There's something wrong with me because I'm doing what I should be doing, but I'm not getting what I should be getting. And therefore, I need to fix myself. That's purity culture. Instead of I'm doing what I should be doing, I'm not getting what I should be getting. Obviously, this thing that I'm doing isn't the thing that gets that thing. I'm on this diet. I should be losing 10 pounds. I'm not. The diet doesn't work. But no, what are we trained to do? I'm on this diet. I should be losing 10 pounds. I didn't. What did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? I need to fix myself. I'm broken. Purity culture. Do you see? Purity culture is in everything. Anything that is asking you to disconnect from your humanity, that is asking you to say, this natural inherent thing about me is wrong and bad. Because even with the things that cause harm, even with the things that are natural to us that really do get bad results, the answer is still not fixing yourself. The answer is understanding why you were doing that, what the innocent intention behind that is, where you learned that way of being, what the positive outcomes of that are, what the negative outcomes of that are, and then learning higher and better ways of getting those same needs met in more harmonious ways. It's about learning more about yourself and about reality. It's never about fixing what's broken about you. It's always about learning higher ways of getting the needs met that we're currently getting met through our harmful ways of being. Anytime we are being asked to separate from our humanity, to look at something that is natural to us as something that's wrong, bad, and broken, we are being inducted into purity culture. When it's about how it looks and not how it feels, that is purity culture. When it's about what should happen instead of what's actually happening, that is purity culture. And it separates us from our humanity. And then it leads us into this hyper-consumption, hyper-productive wheel that goes nowhere, that destroys us and destroys the planet. This is why I have the mystery school. This is why I do my coaching. This is why I do these videos. This is why I make these blogs. Because the answer is to actually start to reconnect to your humanity. Your body, your emotions, the way your brain works, why you feel the way you feel, what you need, why you do the things you do, your programming, all of that stuff. That's what we work on with all of this self-love work. Is understanding that you're not fundamentally broken, and figuring out a good life for you is not about fixing you. It's about figuring out how you work and how to live a life based on that. That's how we get out of purity culture. You're not broken. How do things feel? What are the actual outcomes? What do you need to be supported in who and what you actually are? In reconnecting to your humanity and to the humanity of everyone around you. That's how we get out of purity culture. That's how we deconstruct from all of this. So I hope that this video helped you see it. Helped you to start to see that it's literally in everything. It's everywhere. And these fundamental concepts of disconnecting from your humanity, I hope you start to recognize them. Because that's how we start to disengage from it. We have to see it first. Anything that asks you to disconnect from your humanity and then to buy something to help you be even more disconnected from your humanity or to produce something is purity culture. And it's taking you away from the answers you're looking for. That's why I do the work that I do. That's the mystery school, that's coaching, that's all these videos, that's all these blogs, that's all the free content, that's all the paid content. It's all the same thing. It's leading you back to your humanity. Because that's where the answers lie. What is actually natural to us is the answer. And that's why we can't find it in purity culture. That's why we can't find it in our culture in general. Because the culture is all about separating from that. Okay? Your humanity is not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. It's about learning how to understand yourself. And understand reality, actual outcome, how things feel. And to live in alignment with that. That's what living in alignment with reality is. Okay? Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. The work is just about returning to who you are and to feeling and to these new ways of figuring out how life works and how to move forward. That's all the tools of the self-love path. That's what it is. It's how to use your humanity instead of how to get away from your humanity. Okay. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week. And until then.